And in Japan, music education is mandatory through junior high, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And so you started playing piano at 6. And when I wrote this question, I just added this today. I wrote, did you choose the instrument or did it choose you?
I have an older brother who is 5 years older than me, and he was taking piano lessons already when I was 3 or 4. So piano always has been the closest instrument to me, and it was really natural for me to just want to study the instrument.
So music lessons was something that you had to do. Was there a point where it went from something that you had to do to something that you wanted to do, that you really loved?
I always loved
You always loved it?
Yeah, I was really fortunate to have a great piano teacher, and I don't think I would have loved this instrument that much without her. She was really unique, and she was a classical piano teacher, but she was listening to all kinds of music, and she's the one who told me about jazz, R&B, soul. Like, she listened to everything. So, at the age of 8, she had me listen to a couple of LPs of Errol Garner, Oscar Peterson, and that was my first introduction to jazz music. So, I felt like, what is this? It's like, what is this thing that's making me like this in my head? And she said, that's called swing. Wow. And they're playing something which is not written on the music. Wow, you don't have to read music. So, that's where it all started. And, I started to kind of improvise on classical pieces even. And she didn't really, say no to anything. She was really free spirit, and I really appreciate that.
So when you were playing Beethoven, you started to fool around with what was in the middle?
Yeah, even like a Hanon scales.
And you're still doing that today, aren't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I like to play Hanon in string, yeah.
So, outside of your serious musical studies, were you listening to any particular music for fun? Like what was on the radio or what your friends in school were listening to?
Yes, especially after high school, I was more into like pop rock music. I was a huge fan of The Who. That when it was my first time listening to Frank Zappa, so I was deeply into rock music when I was in high school.
Frank Zappa and The Who, that's quite a combination.
Yeah.
Great. At age 14, you played with the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra, and 3 years later, at 17, you met Chick Corea, of all people, who invited you to perform with him. And at the same time, you were writing jingles for the Nissan company. Is that right?
Yes.
A lot going on there musically.
Yeah, it didn't really happen at the same time, but at 17 years old, first time I met Chick, and he happened to be in the same building that I was taking lessons. And like any other kid, I heard Chick was in the building, so I went to say hi, just knocked on his rehearsal space, and he was such a open heart. So he welcomed me. He asked me like, what do you play? So I played the piano, and he said, do you like, what do you play? Like, do you write? Do you improvise? And honestly, at that time, I was 17 and I didn't speak much of English. So I think I just answered yes to all his questions. And so he was asking, so do you want to play something? And I said yes. And I played something. And he asked me, so do you improvise? Like, yes. Let's play together. Yes. And I played something, and he said, do you want to play in my show tomorrow? Yes. So that's all, how it happened. And yeah, it was amazing experience to be able to just play with him, like that, because I think any musicians who you I kind of idealize. You play with a record, you know. So I've been playing with, you know, Organa Trio, the Peterson Trio, Chick Corea, acoustic band. I was always playing with them, like I'm playing with Dave Wackel, John Patitucci, but they never respond to what I'm playing because I'm just playing the record. But for the first time, Chick responded to what I played, and that was just wow, you know, flattering and amazing experience. So, you know, I was just super excited. Yeah.
Electrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Then actually, a few years later, I was doing some concerts in Tokyo, and the jingle writing company boss came to the show, and I was playing some of my originals, and he said, you know, he really liked what I was writing, and said, if you want to do some, you know, job for jingle writing, and I always wanted to write for visuals, because whenever I write songs, I see certain kind of landscapes. So I said yes, and that was for Nissan, and it's a couple of like cosmetic company jingles. It was fun, you know, writing for 15 seconds of film music. That's how I took it.
I've produced a few commercials in my time, and I've always thought of it as kind of commercial poetry. You know, you got to be very concise and very directed in what you do. But for you, you were not only doing the keyboard part, but you also had to write the parts for the other instruments.
Yes.
So what was the hardest instrument to write for?
Well, you know, I think when I first tried the jingle writing when I was 18, I think I only wrote for, back then, for bass and drums and piano. I never wrote for anything, maybe trumpet, but nothing, you know, else. And I had to write this Nissan commercial for full orchestra. No study, never. Then the music producer from Jingle Writing Company said, okay, I never wrote an orchestra before, but do you want to write? He asked me, so I said, yes, I want to try, but everybody has the first time, and this might be it. So, okay, if you trust me that much to do this, and I will. And I tried, and it was a big commercial for the starring Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, and he was just going roundabout like with a car like this. And I had to arrange the song Entertainer to the full orchestra. That kind of was humoristic, like Mr. Bean. And I tried, but at the same time, I learned that I have to really study the instruments that I don't play, and that really made me want to go to Berkeley, and that's when I decided to move to the States.
Yep, that was 1999. You moved to Boston. You enrolled in Berkeley. 4 years later, you gave yourself one hell of a graduation present. You graduated with a recording contract and your debut album, co-produced by Anna Jamal. That's pretty amazing.
Yes, I was really lucky.
Is that just another case of saying yes at the right time?
That was I was a arranger, like a jazz composition and arranging department student, and so I was majoring in mostly composition and arranging, and I wasn't really in the performance major. I was performing, of course, but as a studying, you know, I was just studying about writing. Then I think maybe one of the midterm or final project I did, the professor really liked what I wrote, and he said, for your next project, let's arrange something of your original, because that time I was arranging standard song. So I brought my kind of demo that I was making, and I played that song, and he asked me, who is playing the piano? Because he only knew me as an arranger, because I was arranging a student. I said, it's me playing the piano. And he said, okay, I have to have my really good friend listen to this. So can I borrow this? So he took it. His name is Richard Evans, who is also the co-producer of my first album. And his friend happened to be Ahmad Jamal. I would never imagine that. And apparently, Ahmad said, just play that over the phone. So he played my CD over the phone, and I got a phone call from him like next day or so that he wanted to, meet me, and he kind of opened my career, and also, his manager took me to the record label, and yeah, all started from there. Yeah.
Good start.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
My eyes and ears to a way to think about music that I hadn't thought about. And this supposedly happened at a recording session. Joni was working with a saxophone player, and after one take, she looked at him and said, "It's really lovely. Could you make it more yellow?" And I thought, well, that's an interesting, note to give to a musician. And then I read a little bit about you, and you are very much into color. Like on your 11th album, which is called Spectrum, you have songs like Kaleidoscope, Whiteout, Yellow Wurlitzer Blues, Blackbird, Rhapsody in Various Shades of Blue, and one about sepias. You have lots of colors. Tell me about your thoughts about music and colors and where you learned that.
I think that's I learned that through my first piano teacher, that she always, because I was 6 years old when I started, and I think for a young student, it was hard to teach like musical jargons like fortissimo, pianissimo, crescendo. She didn't use these terms, and she just colored all my sheet music with color pencils. So, like fortissimo, she would just color it like passionate red, and when it's pianissimo, she colored it blue, and sometimes like darker blue, lighter blue, and she always told me that more you play, you can have like different shades of blue, for example, like more colors in your palette, and that's how you become as a professional pianist. So that was really striking, I think.
And it has come to my attention that you did a recording of George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, which is a classical jazz orchestral piece, but you wanted to do it piano only. And I also noticed that in the writing credits, you give credits to John Coltrane and Pete Townsend of The Who. So tell us about your take on Rhapsody in Blue and how that all came together.
I wanted to just find the song with the word blue, and kind of cook it in my own way with Rhapsody in Blue. So, just so that I took Blue Eyes from The Who, then Blue Train from John Coltrane, and that's how I kind of mixed these 3 songs together somehow. Like it's different blue, but everybody wrote these songs seeing something blue, and I kind of wanted to keep the unity through the arrangement.
And you think of the piano as an orchestra all by itself, don't you?
Yeah, the piano is orchestra for me. So, yeah.
So you can be the horn section, the string section, the drums and the bass, and the piano while you're playing.
Yes, yeah, it's an amazing instrument. You can have as many roles as you want.
Right. So let's talk about the band Sonic Wonder, who's performing with you tonight. And when you were putting that together, I love what you said, that you thought of yourself as a movie director, casting actors to play roles in the band. And the first actor that you cast for a role in Sonic Wonder was the bass player.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I played with Hadrian Farad back in 2016. He was playing a couple of shows with my trio, and when I played with him, I felt really special chemistry, musical chemistry, and I just wanted to play with him more. But back then he was kind of subbing the bass player who was in the trio, in the trio days. So I didn't write these songs for him. But meeting him really wanted me to write the music for him, just like writing a script for the actor. And so I started to write songs, imagining him playing bass. Then the more I wrote, then clearer that the sound of the drums got. Then I was kind of going through all my, drum video in my head, and then I came up with this idea of asking Gene Coy, who I played with in Stanley Clark Band, and so he is the second one that I casted. And the third one was a trumpet player, Adam O'Farrell. I started to hear this beautiful trumpet in my head, who plays through the sound effect, like not too bright sound, like somewhere like warm, a little bit darker, and amazing improviser. Then I found Adam. Okay, I found the perfect fit. So that's how I kind of recruited the band.
So Hadrian, Gene, and Adam are all with you here tonight.
Yes.
Great.
And actually the first song of the album is called Wanted, and that starts in order of how the order that I met them. So it starts from me like playing by myself, then Hadrian comes in, then Gene comes in, then Adam comes in the end. And musicians want it, and that's how I kind of wanted to make it sound like that. And it's going to be the first song to tonight's show, so I hope you enjoy.
So I love the way you describe the role of the drums. Again, you're opening my ears and my thinking into how drums can sound. You said that you wanted the drums to sound warm, organic, and humorous. How can drums do that?
Well, Gene Coy can. He's just such a joy to watch. You can feel he's enjoying the music, with the audience, with the musicians on stage, of course with himself. And I think it's easier to see than me explaining it, but it's very beautiful.
All right, now I'm going to get really geeky here because I looked at your gear list, what you'll be playing tonight, and I know that you have a Yamaha piano. I know the Conrad doesn't own any Yamaha, so they had to go rent one. And this one came in yesterday from Disneyland.
No?
So you're playing the Disneyland Yamaha grand piano. Now, the pianos that we have here are the Steinways. And I always think of Steinway as like the Dave Brubeck pianos, perfect for jazz and classical. And the Steinway is kind of the Elton John piano. It's that very sparkly, bright, forward. Yeah, the Yamaha. The Yamaha, it's sort of like that. Is there something about the choice of piano that you want to talk about?
Yes. I always try to make my point that I love the sound of Steinway when it's played by other people, and I love going to listen to them. But I grew up in Hamamatsu, where Yamaha is from. We are from same hometown. And I grew up going to the factory, and I grew up playing the piano. And every piano has different actions, different pedals action, and of course the sound different, but I think each individual piano has different characters. For example, when it's played in a beautiful concert hall every day by beautiful pianists, they sound like that, a little bit like, are you good enough to play me? Kind of. You feel that from the piano.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you go to like the place that the piano's never loved and not used very much, they sound so sad. And it's so individual piano has different, character, but still the actions are very similar to each other. And I really I just feel, it's just for me because I grew up playing the piano all my life, and it's like your favorite car to drive, how the gear works, that axle. that's how my piano should be, and I just feel I can control it very well.
Okay, so here's a really geeky question for you. When synthesizers were invented back in the 1920s and 1930s, they were analog. The sounds were created by vacuum tubes, and they were described as warm and full and rich. And then digital synthesizers came along, and they were often described as thin, brittle, and cold. In particular, the tune Sonic Wonderland that you're going to do tonight, you're playing a little red keyboard on top of your Steinway, which is a Nord V. It's a synthesizer, but it's an analog modeling synthesizer, digital synthesizer, sounding like a tube-driven synthesizer. And if I were a record producer, I would take that opening part that you play very, very quick. I would put that on a sequencer and sync it to the drum machine. But you don't do that. You play it live, and it's astonishing to watch because you're perfectly synced with the bass and the drums. Talk about, if you would, how you think about man and machine, the human-machine interaction with your digital synthesizers.
Well, there is so much that you can do, which I can on keyboard, which I cannot do on the piano. For example, you can sustain the notes as much as you want. The piano, the second you play, the note diminishes. And so the reason why I started playing the keyboard was I was a huge fan of guitar. And I was like in love with Pete Townsend. I was in love with Jeff Beck, Frank Zappa, all these people. They use arms and just look so cool. They sound like rock and roll, amazing. And I just wanted to kind of capture that sound. And that's when I started playing the keyboard, trying to be like a guitar player on top of the piano. And so I, I never really thought like this is digital, this is acoustic, and I think a lot of the idea for the sound comes from game music for me, because I'm a big fan of game music as well. So, a lot of sound from old game music era, the family computer era. I really like that, sound, so I try to kind of mimic that on the keyboard. And it's just fun, to just, twist a knob, and what you can do, like, on the soundboard is amazing. And also what I really like about these clavier keyboards are that the bend is made with wood. It's not made with plastic. So I can really have the feel like of bending notes, which I cannot do on the piano. So that's another thing that I really enjoy.
And you talked about games, and just today I decided I was going to watch the video for Sonic Wonderland. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, Tetris, Pac-Man, Beatles' Yellow Submarine, Finding Nemo, Super Mario Brothers. It's like all of these things are going on in the video. And is that how you thought of it?
Yes, yeah, like A to B scrolling, like, it's like these days games, like it's like three-dimensional, and you go like 360 degrees, and it kind of makes me feel dizzy. So I like the simple game, going from left to right, and that was kind of the sound that I was looking for when I was writing the kind of the head of the piece. Then we go 360 degrees with improvisation.
Yes. I know that one of your favorite songs is Blackbird, that Paul McCartney wrote for the Beatles. How do you feel about and think about that song when you play it?
Well, it's really, from the lyrics point of view too, it's really deep spiritual song, and I don't know, I always feel that song really makes me feel free, like free spirit, like makes me fly to anywhere I want to go, and no limit. And I love that piece, the freedom of the piece.
Now, in 1961, there was a Japanese recording artist by the name of Kyo Sakamoto who had a worldwide top 40 hit called Sukiyaki. I won't try to sing it for you, but if you know the song, you know it. And most Americans like me, not speaking any Japanese, thought it was about Japanese food. Turns out it's not about that at all, is it?
No, actually I covered the song in my fourth album, or fifth album called Beyond Standard. I covered the song. I didn't call it Sukiyaki. I called it the original title, which is "Will Make Article," means I look up the sky when I walk, so that tears won't fall. That's how the title means, but I don't know why it's called Sukiyaki. And I was trying to explain to, like, whenever I did like a promotional radio interviews back then, I said, it's almost as shocking that you go to Japan and if Amazing Grace was called hot dog. That's as shocking as it is. I was like, why? Why this beautiful title has to be Sukiyaki? So it's like it's still a kind of mystery, but I think to kind of make it catchy, probably the record producer back then had to do that, but it was really shocking.
Yeah, it's about selling little pieces of plastic with the song on it. Final question for you, Hiromi. You're an artist who paints pictures in the air with sound, and as soon as you make those sounds, they disappear, and people are left with something. What do you hope that the people who are here to hear you tonight are left with? What do they take home from experiencing your performance?
I don't know, I want to leave that up to the listeners, but I always, like I have, let's say, I have like 5 shows a week, right, this week. But I never consider, like, for example, today, okay, this is like 4th show or 7 shows, or I never think like that. I always feel like before I go onto the stage, I always feel this is my first and last, because you never get same group of audience, and it's really once in a lifetime experience. And I really want to give everything I have today, and I don't want to leave anything. So just be ready to get the full energy out of me.
Yeah, absolutely. We want your energy.
The perfect ending. Thank you, Hiromi-san.